My phone vibrated against the nightstand at exactly 11:42 at night. The screen glowed in the dark bedroom, illuminating a single text from my mother. It read, "Change your wedding date so Ashley can go to the beach," or "Your father and I will not be attending." I read the sentence twice. The air in the room grew completely still. I threw off the heavy duvet, walked over to my desk, and opened my laptop. The screen flared to life. I pulled up my master wedding spreadsheet. I scrolled past the floral deposits and the catering menu, stopping right on the VIP rehearsal dinner guest list. I highlighted my mother's name. I highlighted my father's name. I highlighted my sister's name. I pressed the delete key. The cursor blinked steadily over 3 empty white cells. They expected a frantic, tearful phone call. They wanted me to beg them to show up for the most important day of my life. I snapped the laptop shut, crawled back into bed, and went to sleep. The audacity did not happen overnight. It was the culmination of 29 years of training. I'm a high school teacher in Charlotte, North Carolina, which means I spend 40 hours a week managing the explosive emotions of teenagers who believe the universe revolves entirely around them. It is a skill set that perfectly prepared me to deal with my own family. When Daniel and I first announced our wedding date, the reaction was not joy. It was immediate. Calculated outrage. Ashley, my younger sister and the undisputed golden child of our family, immediately threw a tantrum. She claimed our wedding weekend conflicted with her annual girls' beach trip. It was not a medical emergency. It was not a career-defining work retreat. It was a week of drinking margaritas on a rented balcony. Instead of congratulating me, my mother summoned me to a lunch that felt more like a hostage negotiation. She sat across from me, stirring her iced tea, and delivered Ashley's terms. Because I had maliciously chosen a date that stole Ashley's spotlight, I was expected to move my entire wedding. Furthermore, because Ashley had already put down a non-refundable deposit for her beach house, my mother demanded that I pay Ashley a $5,000 inconvenience fee as an apology for stressing her out. Ashley was bringing her brand new fiance on this trip, and she had spun a complete fabrication to him, claiming I was a bitter bridezilla who was actively trying to ruin her summer. My mother looked at me, expecting me to crumble. She expected me to pull out my checkbook and apologize for taking up space. I looked at her, tapped my fingernails against the table, and politely declined. I told her the date was locked. The venue in Charlotte was booked, and I would not be subsidizing a beach vacation for a grown woman. The smear campaign began before I even reached my car. My mother weaponized the extended family. My phone blew up with texts from aunts, uncles, and my older brother, Brandon, all accusing me of tearing the family apart over a party. My father, true to his cowardly nature, remained entirely silent, letting my mother do the dirty work while he hid in the garage. Ashley posted a passive-aggressive status online about toxic people stealing joy. They broke me down when I was younger with these tactics. They used to make me feel small, crazy, and entirely alone. But today, their public tantrums were just digging their own social graves. I did not respond to a single message. I just kept planning my beautiful life. The wedding day arrived, bathed in the warm golden light of a perfect Carolina afternoon. The family officially followed through on their boycott. As I stood at the back of the venue, waiting for the music to start, I looked down the aisle at the front row. The chairs reserved for my parents, my sister, and my brother sat completely empty. Society tells you that an empty chair at your wedding is a tragedy. They tell you that you should be weeping in the bridal suite, mourning the absence of the people who gave you life. But as I stared at those empty wooden seats, my chest did not tighten. The crushing weight of a lifetime of anxiety simply evaporated. I did not have to worry about my mother criticizing my dress. I did not have to manage Ashley's desperate need for attention. The silence they left behind was the most beautiful gift they could have ever given me. Just before the doors opened, there was a commotion near the back. Aunt Claire walked in. She was my mother's sister, the rebel of the family. And she had explicitly defied my mother's boycott. She marched up to me, smoothed the veil over my shoulders, and took her seat in the second row. The music swelled. I walked down the aisle toward Daniel, and our wedding was flawless. We danced. We ate. We laughed until our ribs ached, surrounded only by people who actively chose to love us. My family expected me to be at home in my apartment, sobbing over my ruined day. They expected a desperate voicemail begging for their forgiveness. Instead, the morning after the wedding, Daniel and I boarded a flight for a secret, unplugged honeymoon in Costa Rica. We turned our phones completely off. We spent 10 days walking on white sand, drinking out of coconuts, and sleeping to the sound of the ocean. I completely severed their access to my emotional state. When I finally turned my phone back on in the airport terminal heading home, the screen nearly froze from the sheer volume of notifications. The family group chat had devolved into absolute unhinged chaos. My mother and Ashley were short-circuiting. They had spent a week attacking Aunt Claire for attending, demanding to know where I was, and spinning wild narratives about my disappearance. This is the secret about toxic enmeshment. Narcissists do not actually care if you are angry with them. They do not care if you are screaming, crying, or fighting back. All they care about is that you are paying attention to them. Conflict is just another form of supply. By ghosting them entirely, I had starved them. I sat in the airport lounge, reading their frantic, furious messages. I typed a single reply. You chose the beach over my vows. Enjoy the sand. I am enjoying my peace. I hit send, permanently muted the chat, and boarded my flight home. Fast forward 1 full year. Daniel and I were expecting our first child. We had built a fortress of peace around our lives, completely insulated from the drama of my blood relatives, but toxic people do not handle rejection well. And Ashley was spiraling. Her new marriage was quietly and rapidly failing. Her husband had started to notice the cracks in her sweet victim facade. More importantly, Ashley was drowning in hidden financial debt from trying to maintain a lifestyle she could not afford. She hated that I was happy. She hated that the spotlight was on my pregnancy. She needed cash, and she needed revenge. The day before my baby shower, I was organizing gift bags in my living room when my phone rang. It was the manager of the event venue we had booked for the shower. She sounded deeply uncomfortable. I put the phone on speaker. The manager explained that a woman claiming to be my devoted, heartbroken sister was currently standing in the venue lobby. The woman had spun a tragic story, claiming I had been suddenly hospitalized with severe complications. She was demanding to cancel the baby shower event and insisted the venue immediately refund the $3,000 catering and space deposit directly to her card to help our family cover my unexpected medical bills. It was a masterclass in manipulation. But I had anticipated their sabotage. As a teacher, I deal with teenagers forging hall passes and faking parent signatures constantly. Months ago, when I booked the venue, I set up a strict verbal security password on my account. No changes. No cancellation. And absolutely no refunds could be processed unless the person provided the exact authorization phrase. The manager told me she had asked Ashley for the password. Ashley, realizing her flawless scam was hitting a brick wall, tried to guess. When she failed, her mask slipped entirely. She threw a massive, unhinged tantrum right there in the lobby. She screamed at the staff, pounded her fists on the reception desk, and demanded the money. The manager, following protocol, stepped into the back office to call me directly. I did not panic. I calmly told the manager that I was perfectly healthy, sitting in my living room, and that the woman in the lobby was attempting to commit financial fraud. I instructed the manager to call the Charlotte Police Department immediately, and I asked her to secure the lobby surveillance footage. 20 minutes later, 2 uniformed officers arrived at the venue. They did not arrest Ashley, but they did escort her out of the building in front of a lobby full of staring clients. They issued her a formal documented police citation for trespassing and disturbing the peace. That evening, my mother made her fatal mistake. Unaware of the police involvement, she ran to social media. She posted a long, tearful paragraph about how cruel and heartless I was for excluding my own flesh and blood from the upcoming baby shower. She played the ultimate victim, soaking up sympathy from distant relatives in the comments. I did not argue. I did not write a paragraph defending my character. I simply opened the family group chat, which included every aunt, uncle, and cousin who had previously judged me. I uploaded the MP4 video file. The venue manager had emailed me. The footage clearly showed Ashley screaming, stomping her feet, and aggressively demanding $3,000 from a terrified receptionist right beneath the video. I pasted the public link to the county police dispatch log, clearly showing a trespassing citation issued to Ashley at that exact address. I added one single sentence. The next time any of you approach my family or my vendors, I am taking this footage to a judge for a permanent restraining order. The fallout was spectacular and immediate. Ashley's carefully curated image was annihilated. Her husband, who was copied on the family chat, finally saw the undeniable proof of her pathological lying and unhinged behavior. He packed his bags that night and officially filed for divorce by the end of the month. Within 48 hours, I received texts from my father and my brother Brandon. Suddenly, they were deeply apologetic. They claimed they had always known Ashley and my mother were out of control, and they just wanted to make peace before the baby arrived. But I saw right through their cowardly retreat. They were not apologizing because they felt remorse. They were apologizing because Ashley's impending divorce meant she was going to move back into my parents' house. She was going to drain them financially and emotionally. My father and brother were staring down the barrel of a miserable, chaotic life, and they wanted to escape into the peaceful sanctuary Daniel and I had built. I replied to both of them with the same message. You do not miss me. You are just tired of her. I blocked their numbers, blocked their social media accounts, and permanently severed the final rotting branches of my family tree. The baby shower the next day was a dream. Aunt Claire sat in the place of honor, surrounded by our chosen family. When our child was born, they entered a home filled with laughter, stability, and absolute safety. We never looked back. It has been 3 years since I walked away, and the silence in my life is still the most beautiful sound I have ever heard. When you survive a toxic family system, especially one built around a golden child and a scapegoat, you spend your entire life believing that you are the problem. You are conditioned to believe that your boundaries are acts of aggression, and that demanding basic respect is a form of betrayal. Enablers like my father and my brother will stand by and watch you bleed, claiming they just want to keep the peace. But neutral silence in the face of emotional abuse is not peace. It is participation in disguise. They do not love you. They love your compliance. They love the version of you that shrinks to make them feel comfortable. When you finally stop shrinking, they will call you the villain. Let them paint whatever picture they need to paint to sleep at night. Because the truth is, the only way to win a rigged game is to stop playing. If you are navigating the wreckage of a family that treats you like an option while demanding you treat them like a priority, I need you to internalize 3 rules. These are the rules that saved my life, and they will save yours. Rule number 1, the empty chair is a filter, not a flaw. We are conditioned to mourn the people who do not show up for us. We stare at the empty seats at our weddings, our graduations, and our hospital beds, and we internalize their absence as a reflection of our own worth. You must stop doing this. When toxic, manipulative people remove themselves from your table, do not chase them into the parking lot. Their absence is the universe stepping in to take out the trash. The empty chair is a blessing that protects your peace. Honor the people who actually sit down. Rule number 2, silence is the ultimate kryptonite. You cannot out-argue a narcissist who is deeply committed to misunderstanding you. If you explain your pain, they will weaponize it. If you show your anger, they will call you unhinged. If you demand an apology, they will rewrite history to make themselves the victim. The only response that strips them of their power is absolute, echoing silence. Your happiness, built entirely out of their reach, is the only revenge that actually matters. Starve them of your energy and watch them collapse under the weight of their own misery. Rule number 3, forgiveness does not require reconnection. Society loves to push the narrative of the big family reunion. They tell you that holding a grudge is a poison and that you must forgive and forget to truly heal. You can forgive the person who stabbed you in the back. You can heal the wound, do the therapy, and let go of the anger that keeps you awake at night. But you do not ever have to invite the person holding the bloody knife back into your house. You are allowed to forgive them from a vast, unreachable distance. You are allowed to close the door and lose the key. Look at the tables you are sitting at right now. Look at the people demanding your time, your money, and your emotional labor. Are you being served love, respect, and mutual support? Or are you just on the menu? Are you setting yourself on fire just to keep someone else warm? Blood does not obligate you to endure abuse. Sharing a last name is a biological coincidence, not a binding contract for a lifetime of disrespect. Have you ever had to leave an empty chair to save your own sanity? Have you ever had to walk away from the people who were supposed to protect you? Drop your story in the comments below. Let us remind each other that walking away is not quitting. Walking away is surviving. I chose my peace. I chose my family. And I am finally completely free. Wow. Take a deep breath. I know exactly what you are screaming at the screen right now. You are probably thinking, why on earth did she endure 29 years of that? Why did it take a $5,000 extortion attempt and a boycotted wedding for her to finally walk away? Let me stop you right there. Megan was not weak, and she was not stupid. She was trapped in something psychologists call the slot machine effect, which is also known as intermittent reinforcement. When you grow up in a toxic family system, especially as the designated scapegoat, you do not get consistent love. You get crumbs. You get a pat on the back once a year, or a quiet compliment when nobody else is listening. And just like a gambler sitting at a slot machine, you keep pulling the lever, enduring hundreds of crushing losses, just praying for that one rare jackpot of approval. Toxic families rely on that addiction. They bank on the fact that you will keep chasing the illusion of a happy family, no matter how much it costs you. But Megan finally recognized the game, and she walked away from the casino. And when she did not just react with her emotions. She reacted like a tactician. Let us break down her street-smart self-defense moves. First, look at the audit strategy. Notice how Megan handled her baby shower. She did not just hope her sister would behave. She instituted verbal security passwords with her vendors. Scammers and entitled relatives hate details and they hate boundaries. By putting a hard lock on her financial contracts, she turned a $3,000 theft attempt into a brick wall. Next, she mastered building the case. When Ashley threw her tantrum in the lobby, Megan did not drive down there to scream at her. She let the venue manager handle it. She let the police issue a formal citation. And she secured the surveillance video. She built an undeniable objective case. Narcissists thrive in the gray areas of emotional arguments where they can twist your words. You defeat them by bringing receipts. Public records do not lie. Finally, she executed the buyout. Think of her silence during the honeymoon as the ultimate investment. Sometimes the price of your freedom is letting toxic people keep their delusions. Megan did not waste a single dollar or a single ounce of energy trying to change their mind. She invested every bit of her focus straight into her own peace, buying out their influence over her life. Here is the verdict. You cannot negotiate with people who view your boundaries as a declaration of war. Your peace of mind is your most valuable asset, and you must protect it fiercely. If someone brings nothing but chaos and debt to your table, you have every right to permanently revoke their invitation. And before this video ends, I want you to understand something that took Megan almost 3 decades to learn. Toxic families do not just steal your time, they steal your instinct. They train you to second guess the most basic truths. They teach you to feel guilty for wanting respect. They make you believe that every boundary is an act of violence, while every insult they throw at you is just how family talks. They turn your nervous system into a courtroom where you are always on trial, always presenting evidence, always trying to prove that your pain is real enough to matter. That is why Megan's story is not really about a wedding date. It is about ownership. Who owned her joy? Who owned her attention? Who owned the right to decide whether her wedding mattered? For years, her mother and Ashley behaved as if Megan's life was a side event orbiting Ashley's main character fantasy. Her wedding was not allowed to be sacred. Her pregnancy was not allowed to be peaceful. Her happiness was not allowed to exist unless it was first approved by the people who had spent years minimizing it. But the moment Megan deleted those names from the spreadsheet, she did something revolutionary. She stopped asking permission to be happy. That delete key was not just a wedding planning decision. It was the first real funeral for the version of Megan who used to beg for a seat at her own family's table. 3 empty cells became 3 locked doors. 3 names erased from a guest list became 3 chains falling off her chest. And that is what boundaries often look like in real life. They are not always dramatic speeches. Sometimes they are quiet clicks on a keyboard at midnight. Sometimes they are one sentence in a group chat. Sometimes they are a vendor password nobody else knows. Sometimes they are a blocked number, a muted thread, a seat left empty, a door left closed. The outside world may not understand that kind of victory. People who grew up in safe families often think reconciliation is always the highest good. They say things like, but she is your mother, or you only get one family, or you might regret this someday. What they do not understand is that some people do not miss the relationship. They miss the control. They miss the old version of you who used to absorb every punch and still send thank you notes afterward. Megan's mother did not want unity. She wanted obedience. Ashley did not want love. She wanted priority. Her father and Brandon did not want peace. They wanted convenience. And once Megan finally understood that, everything changed. Because the most dangerous thing a scapegoat can become is unavailable. Not angry, not bitter, not dramatic, unavailable. Unavailable for guilt trips, unavailable for fake emergencies, unavailable for unpaid emotional labor, unavailable for being blamed every time the golden child creates a disaster and needs someone else to clean it up. That is why Ashley escalated. The baby shower scam was not just about $3,000. It was about proving she could still invade Megan's life. It was about proving she could still step into Megan's celebration, rewrite the story, take the money, and leave Megan looking cruel or unstable. She expected the old family rules to protect her. She expected embarrassment to silence everyone. She expected the venue staff to fold because she was loud, emotional, and claimed to be family. But Megan had changed the rules, and that is the lesson. When you stop playing by a toxic family's rules, they suddenly look ridiculous in the real world. A tantrum that used to control the dinner table becomes a trespassing citation in a public lobby. A sob story that used to fool relatives becomes surveillance footage. A family smear campaign that used to isolate the scapegoat becomes evidence of who was lying all along. Reality is brutal to people who survive on performance. Have you ever had to institute your own security protocols against toxic family members? Tell me about your survival strategies in the comments below. And do not forget to subscribe for more insights on protecting your peace and your assets. Stay strong. And always keep your receipts.